country in the lead-up to the presidential election. British Home Secretary Priti Patel has pledged to toughen up the broken UK asylum system in the biggest shake-up the country has seen in decades.
A fair asylum system should provide a safe haven to those fleeing persecution, oppression or tyranny. But ours doesn't, because our asylum system is fundamentally broken, and we have a responsibility to act.
Wading into the debate, Labour's Shadow Home Secretary Nick Thomas-Symonds criticised Ms Patel's speech, accusing the Tory government of being responsible for the creation of that broken immigration system they've been designing over the past 10 years during their political reign. Well, the journalist and broadcaster Tete Kofi is with us. And Ted, this is a government that's used language like hostile environment in the past. And this rhetoric is clearly playing to some populist sentiments, a bit of racist dog whistle here. What does this say about where Britain is right now?
Well, more or less. I mean, this is a tried and tested formula. It was used, many commentators would say, to secure the Brexit vote. And what it's basically doing is that it's branding those who are in fear for their lives as fake asylum seekers, those who speak up for them as do-gooders and quote-unquote lefty lawyers, as the Home Secretary would have us believe. And all of that, of course, is the most fabulous dog whistle for those who want to revert to a kind of fortress island Britain. That's all this is. This is prepping the ground for whatever measures she's going to bring in the early part of next year, as she says. It's about branding asylum seekers as criminals.
Well, the first thing you do is denigrate and demonize the people in question, and then it becomes easier, one might say, to create those rules and regulations which do not benefit them. But my question here is that some believe that there are certain aspects about Ms Patel's rhetoric here that's about shifting the attention from the way in which some might claim the government's mishandled this COVID crisis. Even for a second, what are your thoughts?
It's not just the COVID crisis. I mean, everybody knows that as a result of the measures that have been taken, our economy has taken a complete bath. So if you want to deflect attention from your present woes, the best thing you can do is to supply people with somebody else to deride, hate, blame, and lay your woes at the feet of. Asylum seekers are powerless. They have very few advocates. They're the perfect thing to say, look over there. That's where all our problems are coming from. So yes, it's a wonderful deflection tactic.
Now, we've had Labour saying, you know, it's one thing for Ms Patel to talk about this broken system, but haven't the Tories been in power for over a decade, Tete? Isn't some of this broken system of their own making?
Do you know what's interesting? It's not just what the Labour people say. Immigration lawyers, the Refugee Council have been saying for a long time that this system isn't working because these people who come in seeking asylum are having to use the most perilous routes because our immigration laws leave very few legal channels for them to legally enter the United Kingdom and put their case forward. Moreover, once they're in the United Kingdom and while trying to put their case forward, many end up in a state of limbo. In fact, it's thought that the cost of keeping them in limbo, where they can't work, they don't have access to legal representation and so on, is over £1 billion. So actually, all of this plays to the suspicion many people have that they're just using Ms Patel's kind of rhetoric to shift blame, shift attention, and shift responsibility for some other pretty horrendous results that we're experiencing with our economy and certainly with COVID.
All right, before I let you go, Ted Kofi, a report by Brown University in the US estimates that some 37 million people have been displaced by the so-called war on terror. How do we not hear of those figures and those particular human tales when this conversation about broken immigration and asylum laws come up?
Well, here's the thing. It took a 16-year-old Swedish child to explain to us all the peril we were in from the environment. The problem for the world is that binary narratives don't work anymore, because the world is so small that what happens on one part of it very quickly winds up as troubles on our own shores. So the fact is that foreign policy from the West to the Middle East, to Africa, through all third world countries, have impacts, and these impacts wind up as asylum seekers on our shores. Unfortunately, this narrative has not really been unpacked. And I think that the average person on the street, while being exposed to this kind of branding of fake asylum seekers and do-gooder lefties who don't care about anything, is shifting away the discourse from the fundamental issues of human rights and human welfare. There lies the solution to our problems.
Thank you so much. As always, Ted Kofi, shifting responsibility and blame, some might say. Right, so to some other news now, because the